when you talk to anybody who's a little older and maybe has the wisdom that goes along with age, if they're fortunate, they know perfectly well that the most of the significant and sustaining meaning that they've found in their life is a consequence of reciprocal service to others and voluntarily undertaken responsibility. That shouldn't be regarded as a limit in some sense on the quality of your life. People think of marriage as a unnecessary, bureaucratic-ridden patriarchal arrangement that's nothing but oppression, and they think of children as nothing but excess responsibility, and that's utter rubbish. You could make the same case, I suppose, about career and education. It's like, those are opportunities, man. And they're opportunities to do something significant with your life. And you're going to need to do that because you're going to encounter periods of suffering, intense suffering, when it's difficult for you to make sense out of the logic of existence. And what you'll have in those situations is, if you're fortunate, you'll have the goodwill that you've generated as a consequence of being a upstanding, productive, and generous individual and citizen. And then perhaps you'll have a little arc that can sustain you through the worst storms of your life. And this is something that conservatives really can tell to young people, is you're going to find the sustaining meaning of your life through responsibility. And that is the case. I certainly saw that time and again as a clinical psychologist in all my practice, helping people sort out the desperate chaos of isolated and lonely lives, pointless lives, lives that were expended in futile isolation and in resentful rebelling against the imposition of any responsible order, instead of carrying that forthrightly and understanding how integrally that voluntary commitment is associated with sustaining meaning. And you're going to need it. Mark my words. You're miserable. And then imagine that you're miserable in your marriage. And then you might say, well, are you miserable because you're ill-constituted psychologically, or are you miserable because your relationship isn't what it should be? And the answer is both. And so then you might ask yourself as well, do you think you could be sane for any length of time if you went through your life and you had no intimate relationship and you had no children and the close family bonds that would entail, and you had no parents or siblings, and you had no friends, and you had no social community whatsoever? Could you still be well integrated psychologically? And the answer to that is clearly no. We know, for example, that you can punish people intensely, even if they're very antisocial, by subjecting them to solitary confinement. And that in itself shows how dependent psychological well-being and sanity is on proper nesting within a hierarchically structured social community. And so then it's probably better to think of both identity and sanity in a rather musical manner. In a great symphony, every note and every phrase has its place within the totality that's defined by the whole of the piece, and every part plays its part in the magnificence of the whole, let's say. And so if you're a popular child, you can play well with others, and that means that you can adopt shared and socially negotiated frameworks of identity. And if you're a well-constituted and popular and desirable adult, in all likelihood you have a long-term intimate relationship. You have children or siblings and parents, and you've established good relations with them, and you keep each other mutually in check and mutually motivated and mutually sane. And then you have friends who are surrounding you, who are contributing to that sanity, and then your family and your friends and your marriage are integrated into a broader community, and maybe you adopt your civic identity in relationship to that broader community, as all of you are doing tonight, merely by attending.